imagine 50,000 people just roaring in absolutely deafening euphoria.
Oh, yeah. The noise must have been incredible.
Right. I mean, you are standing in a packed Vancouver stadium.
Yeah.
Your national team is making history right in front of your eyes.
And they're playing, like, a flawless game.
Completely flawless, and then a sickening crack just echoes across the pitch.
Oof. Yeah, that changes everything in an instant.
It really does. In just a fraction of a second, the greatest moment in a nation's sporting history turns into, well, a collective nightmare.
It's the ultimate whiplash.
Exactly. So, welcome to today's deep dive. Today, we are looking at a really pivotal piece of sports journalism from BBC Sport.
Right, covering the 2026 World Cup match between Canada and Qatar.
Yeah. And, we are going to move at a very deliberate, structured pace today.
We really have to because, honestly, the subject matter demands it.
It does. This
Yeah.
isn't just a quick recap of a soccer game. It's really a real-time psychological case study.
For sure. I mean, we're unpacking how a single 90-minute event managed to encapsulate the highest historic highs and just the most devastating physical lows.
And what that actually teaches us about human resilience, team psychology, and, cultural shifts.
There's a lot to get through.
There is. So, okay, let's unpack this. To really understand the sheer emotional whiplash of this game, we have to start by looking at the stakes.
Right. The stakes before the injury even happened.
Exactly. Because the stakes here were nothing short of generational, weren't they?
Oh, absolutely generational. To really feel the weight of that stadium's euphoria before the incident, you have to look at Canada's World Cup history.
Which up until recently wasn't much of a history.
No, not at all. I mean, it had been a 40-year drought.
40 years.
Yeah. Prior to this specific tournament, Canada's entire history of World Cup success amounted to a single solitary point.
Just 1 point.
Just one, from a 1-1 draw with Bosnia-Herzegovina in their opening match.
That's wow. So for 4 decades, generations of fans had just been waiting for a defining victory.
Exactly. So, when we drop into Vancouver Stadium for this match against Qatar.
Canada's a co-host.
Yeah, they're on home soil. And Canada is cruising with this dominant 3-0 lead.
And this is just 8 minutes into the second half.
Right. So you are not just watching a team win a game. You are watching a country finally exhale after 40 years of holding its breath.
Man, that's the crucial context right there.
Yeah.
The energy in that stadium isn't just happy.
No, it's historic.
It's a collective emotional peak. But then 24-year-old midfielder Ismail Kone receives the ball.
Right. He plays for Sassuolo, right? Former Watford player.
Yeah, exactly. He gets the ball, and Qatar's Assima Debo challenges him.
And it's a bad challenge.
It's awful. He catches Kone late, and he catches him really badly.
Yeah. Canada's manager, Jesse Marsh, he later told reporters, he said, it was right in front of us, and everyone could hear the bone snap.
Ugh, just hearing that makes my stomach drop.
Same here. I mean, everyone could hear it.
And Kone just goes down in shock. His leg is visibly broken.
It's horrific.
So suddenly, that 40-year exhale is violently shoved back down 50,000 throats.
It's like a record scratch at a massive celebration, right?
That's the perfect analogy.
Yeah.
Going from deafening joy to collective horror in a split second, the referee halts play.
Medical staff are just sprinting onto the field.
And immediately, a scuffle breaks out between the two teams. It is just absolute chaos.
Right, and that descent into chaos is a really fascinating display of group neurobiology happening in real time.
Oh, I want to dig into that. But first, let's look at the tactical situation to understand the boiling point on the pitch.
Yeah, because Madibo is immediately shown a red card and sent off for the horrific tackle.
But wait, Qatar was already playing down a man, weren't they?
They were. Earlier in the first half, Hammam El Amin had been sent off.
What for?
For a professional foul against Canada's Tajon Buchanan.
Okay, for people listening who might not know, a professional foul is basically a calculated, cynical move, right?
Exactly. It's an intentional foul committed to stop a really dangerous scoring opportunity. The player knows they'll get penalized, even a red card, but they accept it as the cost of doing business.
So because of that earlier red card and now Madibo's red card, Qatar is forced to finish the game with only 9 men on the field.
Right. The frustration was already just compounding immensely, and then this catastrophic injury occurs.
Let's focus on that transition from celebration to chaos, though. Because to me, it felt like a massive pressure valve blowing out.
Oh, for sure.
You have all this forward momentum, this historic joy, and suddenly the adrenaline has literally nowhere to go.
So it just instantly curdles into aggression.
Exactly. But amidst this scuffle, there is this incredibly jarring contrast.
You're talking about Matabo's reaction.
Yeah, Manipo, the guy who committed the foul, is just standing there with his hands on his head in clear distress and remorse.
You knew immediately what he had done.
Right. And then there's Cone, who is in excruciating pain being loaded onto a stretcher.
And his World Cup is effectively over in that exact moment.
Right. But what does he do? He actually lifts his thumb to the crowd and waves.
It's unbelievable.
It completely breaks my mental model of trauma. Like, I have to ask you, why is a 24-year-old with a shattered leg comforting the crowd while his totally healthy teammates are ready to throw punches?
Well, it really comes down to how different nervous systems process an acute threat.
Okay, break that down for me.
So, when a violent disruption happens in your immediate environment, especially to someone Marsh called a big part of the heart of the team, the brain's amygdala instantly triggers a fight or flight response.
Ah, right, the primal reaction.
Exactly. For the teammates who witnessed the snap but didn't feel the physical impact, their bodies are flooded with cortisol and adrenaline to neutralize a threat.
So that manifests as the primal anger of the scuffle.
Yes, they are instinctively trying to protect their group. But Cone's reaction is entirely different.
Because he's the one actually experiencing the physical trauma.
Right. By giving the thumbs up, he is executing a massive cognitive override.
Cognitive override, that's a great term.
His body is in pure agony, obviously, but his prefrontal cortex, which is the logical, forward-thinking part of the brain, recognizes that 50,000 people are spiraling into secondary trauma.
Wow. So he's actively trying to manage them.
Yes. His wave is an attempt to reassert a sense of order and safety in his environment. He is managing the crowd's neurobiology at the exact moment his own biology is in crisis.
That is just staggering. That kind of mental fortitude is incredible.
It really is.
But, Cone is eventually stretchered off to the hospital for surgery.
And the remaining players are left standing there on the pitch.
Right. They still have a World Cup match to finish.
Against a 9-man team, sure, but still a high-stakes match.
Here is where traditional sports narratives usually insert, like, a speech about stoicism.
Oh, absolutely, the whole rub some dirt on it mentality.
Yeah. The coach tells everyone to block it out, be a machine, and get back to work. But that is actually not what happened here.
Not at all.
During the second half hydration break, Jesse Marsh, the head coach, was visibly in tears.
Crying on the sidelines.
Literally crying on the sidelines of a World Cup match. Now, I have to challenge this, because if I am a player in a high-stakes environment,
Yeah.
and I look over and see my leader breaking down in tears after a traumatic event, that seems like a recipe for a massive panic spiral.
It feels risky, right?
Yeah. Why didn't this team completely fall apart?
Well, it's entirely counterintuitive to the 20th century model of leadership.
The model that says vulnerability equals weakness.
Exactly. But modern psychology, and specifically the neurobiology of high performance, tells a completely different story about how cognitive load works.
Okay, walk me through that.
Think about it like this. When you experience a trauma and try to suppress the emotional fallout, your brain doesn't just make the emotion disappear.
Right, it doesn't just vanish.
No. Your prefrontal cortex has to work overtime to build a mental wall to keep that emotion contained. And that suppression requires literal physical energy.
Wait, really? It burns actual physical energy?
Yes. It burns the glucose that your brain and body desperately need to focus, react, and perform athletically.
That's fascinating.
It's exactly like having a really heavy, complex application running in the background of your smartphone.
Oh, and it just drains the battery incredibly fast.
Precisely, leaving way less power for the app you were actually trying to use, which in this case is playing elite soccer.
So by forcing athletes to just block it out,
Hmm.
a coach is actually draining their physical resources for the rest of the game.
Yes. They are fighting the opponent on the pitch and simultaneously fighting their own human nature in their head.
Wow. So by crying openly, Jesse Marsh effectively closed the background application.
That's exactly what he did. He acknowledged the grief, neutralizing the need for the players to spend energy suppressing it.
He practiced integration rather than suppression.
Right. And during that hydration bunk, he didn't bark tactical orders.
What did he say?
He simply told the team that Cone would want us to finish this game.
He would want us to finish this game. Man, that gives them such a shared emotional anchor.
It does. And the physical result of that emotional integration is undeniable. I mean, they didn't just survive the rest of the match.
No, they scored 3 more goals.
Right. They stayed completely focused and won 6-0.
And we have to mention Nathan Saliba here.
Oh, absolutely. The poetry of that moment.
Yeah, so Saliba's the player who literally subbed in to take Cohn's place after the injury.
Uh-huh.
And he scores the 4th goal.
And what does he do right after?
He immediately runs to the sidelines to hold up Cohn's jersey.
It's so powerful. They didn't push the trauma away. They used it as fuel.
It fundamentally reshapes how we define mental toughness. And, Marsh made a really brilliant observation after the game.
About the team's brotherhood?
Yeah. He pointed to that sense of brotherhood and said, in a moment like this, I don't think they need me so much. They have each other.
That takes a lot of security as a leader to admit.
Right. For a head coach at the highest level of international competition to just voluntarily diminish his own importance in the middle of a crisis, that requires zero ego.
It really is the ultimate test of organizational architecture.
What do you mean?
Well, true leadership isn't about being the loudest voice in the room during a crisis. It's about whether you have built a cultural infrastructure that becomes completely self-sustaining the exact moment you step back.
Oh, I like that. So Marsh trusted the emotional scaffolding he had built.
And that scaffolding held up remarkably well, even after the final whistle.
Yeah, let's talk about the locker room. Because the psychological maturity of this team extended all the way off the pitch.
It's almost the most impressive part of this story.
After the game, Asim Matabo, the guitar player who broke Cohn's leg, actually came into the Canadian dressing room to apologize.
Which, if you think about it, is a highly volatile situation.
Incredibly volatile. You have a locker room full of young men whose teammates' World Cup dream was just violently ended. Adrenaline is likely still coursing through their veins.
Just walking into that room took courage from Matabo.
For sure. But accepting an apology in that environment, that seems almost superhuman on Canada's part.
It does. Marsh mentioned that he accepted the apology, noting that he didn't believe the gruesome tackle was intentionally malicious.
Though he did say he was confused by how the Qatar bench initially reacted, right?
Yeah, there was some confusion there, but he still accepted the apology.
How does a team regulate their emotions well enough to forgive the physical catalyst of their trauma just minutes after it happens?
It requires a really profound level of executive function.
Okay, tell me more.
In the immediate aftermath of a crisis, the brain naturally wants to assign blame. It wants a villain to make sense of the pain.
That makes total sense. It's easier to be angry at a person than angry at a situation.
Exactly. So, by separating the tragic outcome of the broken leg from the intent behind the tackle, Marsh and his team demonstrated high-level emotional regulation.
They recognize that sports, at their core, involve inherent physical risk.
Right. And that a devastating consequence doesn't always equate to malicious intent. By accepting the apology, they refused to let bitterness infect their historic victory.
They kept their narrative clean.
Precisely, they controlled the story.
Which brings us perfectly to the macro impact of this game. We've spent a lot of time dissecting the 90 minutes on the pitch and the immediate locker room aftermath, but we really need to zoom out now.
Yeah, the bigger picture here is huge.
Because the implications of this 6-0 victory go far beyond a single evening in Vancouver. This win actively rewrote the sporting DNA of a nation.
Let's look at the mathematics of what this means for the tournament.
Please do.
Canada is now within a single point of guaranteeing a spot in the last 32 of the World Cup.
And for those following the tournament structure, advancing to the last 32 means successfully surviving the group stage and entering the knockout rounds.
Which is huge for them. But even better, if they win their next match against Switzerland, they ensure the top spot in their group.
Okay, so what does winning the group actually get them?
Securing that top spot carries a massive logistical and psychological advantage. Because Canada is a co-host of this World Cup, winning the group means they get to stay on home soil for those crucial knockout matches.
So they won't have to travel to the United States or Mexico.
Exactly. They get to keep playing in front of their own roaring crowds, maintaining that foundational momentum.
That is such a massive advantage. And all of this really points back to the architect of the momentum, Jesse Marsh.
We definitely need to talk about his personal redemption arc here.
Yeah, because it adds a whole other layer to this story. He was only appointed to the head coach position in May of 2024.
Not that long ago.
Right. And prior to this, he had weathered a very public, very difficult professional chapter.
He had a rough go of it in England, right?
Yeah, he'd been sacked by Leeds United in the English Premier League. And then, adding insult to injury, he was passed over for the head coaching job of his native United States national team.
Wow. So he arrives in Canada with a massive point to prove.
Huge point to prove. But he explicitly stated that his goal wasn't just to win games.
What did he say?
He said he wanted to change the sport in the country to create an identity for what Canadian soccer can be.
Which is an incredibly ambitious goal. I mean, he wasn't just hired to be a tactician, he basically appointed himself as a sociological architect.
A sociological architect. I love that.
Because a national identity in sports isn't built on statistics or possession percentages or even win-loss records.
No, nobody remembers the exact possession stats from 20 years ago.
Right. It is built entirely on narrative. People don't connect with numbers. They connect with stories of human struggle and triumph.
And you can see Marsh actively constructing that narrative in the immediate aftermath of the game.
You really can. The post-game scene is practically cinematic.
It really is. The entire team groups together in a massive huddle on the pitch,
And then Marsh leads them on a lap of honor around the Jubilant Stadium.
literally thumping the air as Seven Nation Army blasts over the stadium speakers.
It gives you chills just picturing it.
It does. And then he looked at the media and made a really bold claim. He said, "No Canadian will forget this day. There will be 40 million people who said they were here when this happened."
That is a massive statement to make.
It is. So I want to dig into the mechanics of that. How does an architect like Marsh ensure that a single day actually permanently shifts the culture of 40 million people?
Well, he does it by anchoring the historic success to a deeply emotional sacrifice.
Okay, unpack that for me.
Psychologically and sociologically, shared adversity forms much stronger neural and communal bonds than shared success.
So going through something hard together bonds you more than just winning together.
Exactly. If Canada had just easily won the game 3-0 with no incidents, it would have been a great day.
Sure, people will be happy.
But it wouldn't have been a foundational myth. A myth requires a trial.
Ah, a trial by fire.
Yes. Look at how Marsh discussed the team's plans for the following day. He told reporters that the players' families were in town and that they were organizing a team barbecue.
Which sounds like a normal celebration.
But he explicitly noted that Ismail Cohn would be heavily on their minds during it.
Wow, that is such a deliberate choice. He is bringing the trauma to the celebration.
That's exactly the right phrase. He is bringing the trauma to the celebration. He is taking the horror of the injury and the historic euphoria of the 6-0 win, and he is fusing them into a single, unified story.
He isn't trying to distract the team from the pain of losing Cohn at all.
No, he is making that pain the very center of their communal gathering. And by doing that, he is communicating a clear identity to those 40 million Canadians.
He's saying, this is who we are now.
Exactly. We are a family that suffers together, weeps together, and then steps back onto the pitch to make history together.
So the tactical formations get you the goals.
But this deliberate emotional structuring is what secures the legacy.
That is incredibly profound. So taking a step back and looking at the deliberate journey we have taken today.
It's been quite a ride.
It really has. We started inside the sudden, bone-chilling shock of an injury that brought a stadium's historic joy to a grinding halt.
Right.
We unpacked the neurobiology of a crowd on the brink of chaos and the incredible cognitive override of a 24-year-old giving a thumbs up through immense pain.
Such a standout moment.
Yeah. And then we explored the deep emotional intelligence of a coach who understood that shedding tears on the sideline actually preserves the cognitive energy his team needs to survive.
Which goes against everything we used to be taught about sports psychology.
Completely. And finally, we zoomed out to see how integrating trauma, rather than suppressing it, provided the exact narrative fuel needed to rewrite a nation's 40-year sporting history.
And, the mechanics of this integration are universally applicable.
Oh, absolutely. You don't have to be stepping onto a World Cup pitch to utilize this blueprint.
Yeah, not at all. If you are, say, managing a corporate division through a brutal market downturn,
Or navigating complex family dynamics during a sudden health crisis.
or leading a community organization through an unexpected loss, the underlying psychology is identical.
Because resilience is never about pretending the pain doesn't exist.
Right. It relies entirely on leaders who are willing to demonstrate authentic vulnerability.
It requires establishing a shared purpose that can absorb and utilize unexpected trauma, transforming it from a roadblock into the very foundation of your group's future success.
It's vulnerability as the ultimate performance enhancer.
It completely flips the traditional script.
It really does.
Well, as we wrap up this deep dive into the events at Vancouver Stadium, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over. We talk about how this team integrated their grief to achieve a historic, generation-defining victory.
We did.
But when a group achieves a monumental breakthrough, and that breakthrough comes at the direct, physical cost of severe trauma to one of its core members, how does the memory of that sacrifice permanently alter the DNA of the group's future?
That's a heavy question.
It is. Once you learn to use grief as fuel, does every victory from that point forward carry a ghost of that original trauma? Do you ever get to just win cleanly again? Or is every future success permanently tied to the memory of the teammate who had to be left behind?
Wow.
Something to think about as you navigate your own victories.